The bipartisan legislation will help create a better economic environment for job creation by replacing the current federal standard for dust that comes from driving on unpaved roads, working in agricultural fields and similar activities in rural America. This is why Congress must act in a bipartisan fashion to pass H.R. 1633 and assure our farmers and our rural industries that naturally occurring dust will not be the subject of expanded federal regulation. When it comes to dust, the EPA and the federal government should not mandate a one-size-fits-all standard that could eventually lead to lost production. With unemployment rates nearing 20% in some areas of Virginia's 5th District, we simply cannot afford to continue to perpetuate unnecessary regulations and uncertainty for the farmers and businesses in our rural communities.
The biggest problem is in Section 3. Under this bill, EPA could have no authority to regulate any of this pollution. Americans want their kids to breathe clean and healthy air, not another bill to let polluters off the
And I would like to maybe address some of the concerns raised by Mr. Rush and Mr. Waxman, that Section 3 it does allow for the federal government to come in, but under circumstances that I think any American would find very reasonable, and that is when it is proven that there are substantial health risks and that after a cost-benefit analysis that this makes sense. And I think that from what I have heard across my district, that's exactly the kind of view that Americans and 5th District Virginians would like to see going on here in Washington.
When I was a young member of the State Assembly in California, I heard that there might be a freeway coming through. I asked for 30 seconds more, and I went out of my way to make sure that we fought that freeway and it was stopped. Turned out they never intended it, but the people in my district thought I'd stopped it anyway. That's a good thing to do politically, but when you change to something like the Clean Air Law with a lot of unintended consequences, I fear for that. If there were a chance to go through this legislation, maybe we can change it in some way, but I fear that your bill goes too far.
To me, the question ought to be, why don't we use our legislative prerogative to guide policy in this country? I think if you talk to the people I represent, they say for far too long the Congress has wholesale given its legislative prerogative over to agencies like the EPA who are not elected, who are not accountable to the people. So why on earth would not we take our responsibility as being a voice for the people seriously? And why would not? What objection could one have to exercising that legislative authority that's been given to us by the people we represent? And then finally, as it relates to the fear-mongering, and I take issue, and I wish Mr. Waxman were here, I take issue with his suggestion that this is somehow politically motivated. I talk to farmers in my district all the time whose fears of government regulation are real, and they translate to lower productivity and fewer jobs. And all they're trying to do, in instance, that I have a farmer in Nelson County who grows, he's a fruit grower. He says, I get regulated by the Department of Labor, the Department of Transportation, the IRS, the USDA, the EPA. He said, all I'm trying to do is grow peaches. I've been doing that for 5 generations. How hard can it be? That at some level, we have standards, but at some level, at the end of the day, if you can't abate the dust, the only way to stop it is to stop production or stop driving on the roads.
Right.
And what does that translate to?
Right.
It translates to lost jobs.
Yeah.